Hello, my name is Emily Crane, and I am teaching the module called International Development and Public Policy. First, a little background about myself. I graduated in 2012 from the University of St. Andrews in Scotland with a degree in International Relations and Modern History. I then went on to the University of Oxford, where I completed my master's in African Studies. I also have a background in development work and have actually helped and participated in projects in South Africa, Uganda, and Zambia. Currently, I'm living and working in Las Vegas, but all of these things combined, I think, make me very qualified to teach this class. There are several learning objectives for this course. The first is to introduce students to public policy and international development research, what it is, who are the main thinkers, and support all of this through case studies. I also hope to prepare and practice leadership skills for students. How do you manage and lead development programs and make them successful? I also would like students to gain a theoretical understanding of policy solutions to social problems. The theory of development and public policy is an important foundation. I also would like students to be able to analyze and formulate preliminary policy solutions to existing social problems. How do we put theory into practice? And this is the main challenge that I hope to address during this course. There are several expectations for this class. Students will be required to purchase one textbook by Damien Kingsbury, John McKay, Janet Hunt, Mark McGillivray, and Matthew Clark, entitled International Development and Issues and Challenges. This provides the foundation for the course and will be referred to constantly as the course progresses. Students will be expected to read and analyze material from the key course readings and handouts. You will also be expected to attend and participate in class. The instructor will attempt to provide interesting and informative material for you to read, give helpful lectures, provide assignments and activities that challenge and stimulate interest, be available to answer any questions you may have, and provide fair and timely evaluations of your achievement. There will be short assignments given every week with a final research paper of 1,500 words on a topic of your choice. The paper will then be presented by the student and discussed by the class. The first week of classes will be entitled Introduction to International Development, and will also be an introduction for the class to get to know myself and for me to get to know the students. We will also discuss evaluations and learning objectives, as well as expectations and course assignments, and then we will get into a brief discussion of international development, what it is and what students believe it to be. Activities that week will include making name placards, as well as having every student fill out a VAC survey that helps me to identify their learning styles. We will review the syllabus and discuss the goals and rules of class, and then enter into a basic discussion of what international development is. From these discussions, I would like to pinpoint areas of interest for students so that I might tailor the course more appropriately. In preparation for that first week, I would like all students to read the first chapter of the Kingsbury book, so that they can come prepared for discussions. The second week of classes will focus on aid and development. Aid and development are closely linked in the media and in academic study, so it is important to understand these concepts before moving forward. First, we will engage with the aid debate. Is aid good or bad for development? And we will be drawing on the case study of Cambodia. With this case study, we will examine the effects of aid on politics, economics, and social issues in the country, and whether it has helped or harmed development there. We will have the usual lecture and PowerPoint, followed by a mock debate with the question, is aid helpful or harmful to development, where students will be divided into two groups to give arguments for and against. We will also discuss how each of the students would approach aid policy, knowing what they know now. There will be 3 readings that must be done for this week. Week 3 classes will focus on economic growth for development. Sectors that will be analyzed will be the microfinance sector, initiated by Mohammed Yunus and the Grameen Bank, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. We will also examine structural adjustment programs of the 1990s, orchestrated by international financial institutions and their effects on the countries in which they were implemented. Activities will include the lecture and PowerPoint, as well as many discussions, including whether structural adjustment programs were necessary or unnecessary. Is microfinance the key to solving global poverty? Why or why not? And can the failures of structural adjustment programs be seen as simply abortive attempts at recovery or governments resisting reform? There will also be 3 readings this week. Week 4's classes will focus on human development. Issues that will be covered will be human rights, including the rights of women and children, education, health and sanitation, as well as labor. Activities will include lecture and PowerPoint as usual, as well as discussions. The discussion topics will be, are social welfare issues best tackled at the local, national, or international level? And how do you most effectively tackle social issues, and how do we measure success? There will also be readings for that week as well. Week 5 classes will focus on issues and challenges faced by development. Topics that will be covered include neo-imperialism and cultural imperialism, lack of cultural understanding, lack of good governance and corruption, and bias by Western donors. Activities will include lecture, PowerPoint, and discussion. Discussion topics will be, how can some of these problems be overcome? And, knowing what you know now, how would you approach setting up a development program? Readings will be included for this week, as well as a short video. During week 6, we will take a break from international development to focus on honing research and writing skills. In the class, we will cover essay structure, how to deal with word limits, how to define key terms and how to cite effectively and properly, how to formulate a clear and coherent argument, how to write a literature review, and how to analyze articles. We will talk about the resources available to you as a researcher, libraries, JSTOR, Google Books, newspaper, radio programs, film, etc. will all be covered. We will also address potential pitfalls as an essay writer, issues of plagiarism, upcoming due dates, and how to grapple with so much information will be covered. Activities will include a discussion about what research methods you use currently, as well as activity in skim reading information and how to read strategically. There will be a short reading for this week, and this week will also be when the final paper is assigned, a 1,500-word research paper on an international development project of your choice to be submitted on the final day of class. The content of this project must be cleared by me before you start researching. In week 7, we will begin the second half of the class, which will be an introduction to public policy. Topics covered will be, what is public policy and how can it be wielded effectively? We will also look at who makes public policy and where is it best wielded. Activities will include a lecture with PowerPoint and a discussion. How would you decide which development issues are most pressing in a public policy position? There will also be a short assignment set for the following week to research a particular development policy in place in a developing country and evaluate its success. What were the problems and what were the successes? What would you have done differently? Students will then give a short presentation of their findings, and this will be followed by a class discussion. In week 8, we will analyze institutions, the foundation of development. First, we will cover the assignment set in week 7, and students will get a chance to present their findings. Then we will move on to an examination of local institutions, national institutions, and international institutions, all backed up by case studies, seeing whether they helped or hindered development. Activities will include the normal lecture and PowerPoint, as well as a class discussion about who should be spearheading development, and how should we prioritize development issues and measure their results. There will also be more but shorter readings for class that week. In week 9, we will cover policies of development in the developing states. This is an important distinction because public policy in developing nations is very different from policy making in developed countries. Topics that will be covered include how is public policy made differently in the developing world compared to in the developed world. We will go over case studies of public policy in different countries and see why some countries were more successful at implementing their policies than others. We will also go over the logistics of implementing a national policy scheme. Activities will include the usual lecture and PowerPoint with discussion breaks. I will also be on hand to answer any remaining questions about the final assignment for the class, which will be due the following week. There will also be some readings set for this week. Week 10, the final week of the course, will consist of a course review and discussion. Namely, I want to know what you have learned. Activities will include the submission of the assignment set in week 6, accompanied by a brief 10-minute presentation to summarize what you have found and how you researched it, followed by a class question and answer session. Discussions will include how would you approach international development, knowing what you know now. There will also be a course reviewed and feedback, so I can ensure that I make the class better for future classes. Grades for the assignment will be given later the following week. Feel free to contact Ivy Touch if you have any questions about the course, and I look forward to teaching you in the future.